Incredible transformation. Farmer enters airport to buy jet. Bank account reveals hidden fortune. Jack Thompson had always dreamed of something bigger than the amber fields that bordered his Midwestern home. A humble farmer with dirt under his nails and hope in his heart, he awoke each day before dawn. The world was quiet, save for the roosters announcing the new day. His heart leapt at the sight of his wife, Lily, her laughter echoing like a melody that lightened their struggles. But it wasn't just her joy that drove him. It was also the spirited dreams of their teenage daughter, Emma, whose eyes shone with ambitions that reached far beyond their small town. Every Saturday the community gathered at the local gym, a hub buzzing with laughter, shared stories and potlucks that warmed the heart. Here resilience sprouted alongside homemade pies. Yet behind the smiles lingered fears. Rising costs and harsh weather weighed heavily on Jack's shoulders, each worry carving deeper lines of perseverance on his face. Then came the letter. Jack's hands trembled as he held it, reading the unbelievable words. An inheritance from a distant relative he never knew existed. A fortune enough to change everything. The dreams he'd stored away whispered for liberation, and for the first time thoughts of buying a small plane flickered in his mind, a way to connect, to uplift fellow farmers in need. But as Jack stood at the brink of transformation, he felt the push and pull of love. Lily's worries encircled him. "Jack," she implored gently, "what if this fortune takes us away from everything we cherish? Our community, our way of life." Her voice wavered, dripping with concern that wrapped around him like the fields they had sown together. And Emma, with her ambitious dreams, wrestled internally, torn between supporting her father's hope and maintaining the roots that kept them anchored. As Jack entered the bustling airport, adorned in his weathered jeans and plaid shirt, he felt the weight of judgment, an outsider in a world of suits and privilege. The stark contrast stunned him. The whispers of merit versus privilege followed him like shadows, each like a thorn digging into his heart. In the midst of the slick marble floors and polished facades, he longed for the raw earth he knew so well. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The townsfolk watched from afar, their pride swelling as they learned of Jack's journey. They rallied around him, their hearts intertwined with his. His intentions were pure. This wasn't about indulgence, but about lifting others in need. Hope flared, igniting conversations that questioned the very definition of success, in a world that often judged by wealth. With every step towards the ticket counter, Jack felt the tug of his community behind him, but also the nagging doubt of whether he could truly uplift them. Lily and Emma, originally burdened by fear, felt a swell of resolve as they realized the power of unity. They exchanged a look filled with understanding, a moment that brought clarity amidst the chaos. But the path ahead felt heavy with uncertainty. Jack's heart raced. Standing before the ticket counter, he gazed out at the bustling world, a symbol of possibility but also of his unease. Would he soar on wings of change, or would doubt cast shadow over his dreams? The busy terminal demanded his decision, its pulse matching the rhythm of his anxious heart. Could one man's rise truly uplift an entire community? With that question hanging in the air like ripe fruit, he felt the weight of hope, ready to burst forth. Jack inhaled deeply, the crisp airport air filled with the scent of coffee and hope. He stepped forward, trembling as he approached the ticket agent. With each stride, anxiety twisted like a vine around his heart, but he banished it with the warm memory of Lily's soft smile and Emma's ambitious dreams. They believed in him. "Can I help you?" The cheerful voice of the agent jolted him from his thoughts, and for a moment, he stared into her bright eyes, searching for understanding. "Yes, I want to buy a ticket for a small plane," he blurted out, his words rushing like water from a broken dam. The agent raised an eyebrow, but he pressed on. "I want to help my community, the farmers. I think a plane could change everything." Her smile faded slightly, and he felt the weight of judgment fall upon him again. A reminder that his humble attire did not match this grand space. "A small plane? That's quite an investment. Are you sure you're ready for that?" He swallowed hard, stealing a glance around the terminal. Men and women clad in sharp suits discussed business deals over coffee like they were plotting worlds of their own. Jack felt dread creeping in, whispering uncertainties he tried to silence. Yet, he held on to the thought that he was here to make a difference. "Yes, I am," he stated firmly, meeting her gaze with newfound determination. "I've inherited a fortune. I don't want to just keep it for myself. I want to lift others." Her eyes softened and with a nod, she began typing on her keyboard. As the clicks echoed in the terminal, Jack realized that sometimes, speaking the truth took more courage than he'd known. Moments later she looked up, a tone of professionalism tinged with curiosity. "It will take some time to arrange for a practical overview of your options. Are you willing to wait?" Panic fluttered in his stomach. Waiting often meant overthinking, and he didn't want to second-guess himself. But he nodded. "I'll wait." As he took a seat near the counters, the hustle of the airport surged around him. Jack's mind drifted towards the faces of the townsfolk, those who struggled every day on land that seemed to fight against them. He imagined Emma's pride as she learned that her father had not only faced his fears but soared above them. While he sat, he felt a small tug at his sleeve. It was a little boy, no older than 6, with dirted jeans and a look of awe on his face. "Are you a pilot?" the boy asked, eyes wide. Jack smiled, leaning down to meet the child's gaze. "Not yet, but I'm going to be. And I'm going to help others fly too." With innocence shining in his eyes, the boy said, "That's awesome. I want to fly when I grow up." Jack's heart warmed. In that moment it was clear this wasn't just about him. It was about every dreamer, every farmer, every child who believed the sky was the limit. He could be part of a shift, a transformative wave that could inspire not just his family but everyone around him. Suddenly, his stomach twisted as doubt crept back in. What if the plane was too much? What if it all fell apart? He closed his eyes tightly, remembering Lily, her gentle voice reminding him of their roots, of what truly mattered. "Hey buddy," he said to the boy. "What if I told you flying is about more than just being in the sky? It's about lifting others up." The boy nodded, still beaming with wonder. Jack felt a spark ignite within him. Maybe lifting others was worth the risk even if he had to stumble along the way. Just then the ticket agent called his name. Jack stood up, heart pounding anew. Would this be a bold leap into his dreams or a step towards uncharted territory? As he approached the counter, questioning glances from strangers faded into the background. He focused only on the warmth of hope fueling his resolve. What if this ticket leads to so much more than I can envision? He thought. And as they continued the conversation, a question marked his heart. Was he ready to embrace the change that awaited? Jack approached the counter, heart racing, as the agent smiled encouragingly. "All right, let us see what we can do for you," she said, her fingers dancing over the keyboard. Every click felt heavy with possibility. "Okay, here's the thing. We have a couple of small aircraft options under your specified budget that might work for your community goals," she began. Jack leaned in, barely breathing, his mind racing with visions of farmers lifting their harvests, families connecting, and children like the one he'd just met, dreaming of flight. The agent continued, "This one here can carry quite a bit, great for crop dusting and delivering supplies. It's a solid choice." She turned the screen towards him, and Jack studied the image intently. Fresh ideas were swirling in his mind, each one more vibrant than the last. What caught his eye, though, was not just the plane itself but the stories it could carry of hope, of change. Suddenly, he was jolted from his reverie by the sound of the airport's public address system. A voice crackled over the speakers, announcing the boarding of a flight to a place far beyond his grasp. He watched as people gathered, emotions flickering across their faces: excitement, anticipation, hope. It reminded him of his community at home, waiting on him to strive for something greater, wanting their hope ignited too. "Yes, that flight can be the catalyst. It's not just mine. It's ours," Jack whispered under his breath, clenching his fists as he spoke. Suddenly fears fell away. His heart thumped steadily, tethered to belief stronger than ever. The agent noticed his enthusiasm. "It sounds like you're quite passionate about this." "I am. I'm not just getting a plane. I want to create opportunities. I want to connect our farms, bring in resources, provide air support for whatever they need. I want the community to flourish." Was it a mission, a dream, or a responsibility? Jack could hardly tell anymore. Okay then, let us move forward with this, she said, her smile returning as she began outlining the steps he'd need to take. In the warmth of her support, Jack felt a surge of confidence. He could feel Lily's presence beside him, guiding and encouraging. Thoughts of Emma sparkled in his mind. She deserved to be proud of her father. Every step forward was infused with intent, ready to back the ambitious plans he had in mind. As the agent finalized the paperwork, Jack caught a glimpse of himself in the reflective surface of the counter. He saw the man he'd become, a mixture of dreams woven into determination. This was him, somebody who wouldn't let the doubts of others keep him on the ground. Moments later, the ticket agent handed him a piece of paper. Congratulations. Your first flight will be, she paused, searching for the right word, an adventure. You'll carry more than just cargo. You'll lift spirits. Jack clenched the ticket tightly, feeling electricity course through him. He took a moment to breathe, allowing a grin to spread across his face. Outside the terminal, a dark cloud rolled in, threatening rain, but in Jack's heart, bright rays of sunlight broke through. He was ready to fight against the odds. Just as he was about to leave, a voice interrupted. Mr. Jack Harris. He turned to see a man in a sharp suit striding toward him. The man's face was familiar yet startling. We need to talk about your inheritance. It involves more than just the fortune. There are strings attached. Jack's heart dropped. The realization hit him this journey came with unexpected challenges. What did this stranger mean? As he faced the man, uncertainty set in once more. What had he gotten himself into? Was this a detour towards his dreams, or the beginning of something larger? His future hung heavily in the balance, with questions swirling like the approaching storm. The adventure was just beginning. Jack stood still, the ticket clutched tightly in his hand, his heart racing in a different way now. The man in the sharp suit stepped closer, an air of authority enveloping him. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this was not just about money. Who are you? Jack managed, his voice steadier than his pulse. The man arched an eyebrow, seemingly weighing Jack's worth before responding. Henry Blackwell. Your late uncle's attorney. We need to discuss your inheritance. Trust me, it's not as simple as you might think. Jack's mind reeled. He had always known of this mysterious uncle, an estranged figure whose tales were whispered in the corners of family gatherings. Now this man stood before him, presenting not just a fortune but a puzzle wrapped in family secrets. What kind of strings? Jack asked, scrutinizing Henry's face for signs of deceit or concern. Quite a few, actually, Henry replied, checking the time on his watch. There are stipulations. A trust fund established for certain purposes, including, I believe, your venture into aviation. Jack's chest tightened. Could this possible fortune be linked to the very dreams he sought to fulfill? Was his dead uncle an unsung hero of the community? Or a ghost with intentions he couldn't begin to understand? Let us get somewhere private to talk, Henry suggested, glancing around the bustling airport. It pulled Jack from his thoughts. Was he really about to put his future in the hands of a stranger? Fine, Jack said, trying to slice through the confusion with resolve. They moved toward a quieter lounge area, each step feeling heavier than the last. His mind buzzed with potential. As they settled into the plush, leather seats, Jack listened intently as Henry laid out the details. Your uncle believed in community. The trust reflects that belief. You can access the funds if you can outline a plan that aligns with his vision. Jack shifted in his seat. And what if I don't? What if my plans change? Then you may lose out on everything, he warned. And that includes the fortune as well as the plane you're so eager to acquire. A knot formed in Jack's stomach. He thought again of his community, the farmers, the kids, the dreams. What if he couldn't live up to his uncle's legacy? What if he stumbled and fell short? What if someone decides to challenge my claim? Jack blurted out, the idea taking shape like a thundercloud in his mind. Then you'll be in for a battle, Henry replied with a cool calm. But that's why I'm here to help you navigate these waters. Jack leaned forward, urgency thrumming through him. I need to make this work for my town, for Emma. The weight of his family and community united in his chest. Could he prove himself? He was determined to try, but uncertainty loomed. Henry regarded him, narrowing his eyes. You're passionate, I'll give you that. But remember, passion alone won't cut it. Jack's heart sank. He could feel the storm outside intensifying, mirroring the whirlwind of emotions inside him. Are you ready for the responsibility, Jack? Henry's voice brought him back to the present, a challenge wrapped in a question. This could be the opportunity of a lifetime, or it could be your demise. With the clouds looming overhead and thunder rolling distantly, Jack felt a deep breath swell in him. He had come to build a bridge, to connect his people and lift their spirits. But were the strings attached too complex to untangle? Let us do it, Jack said, steeling himself. I'll meet the challenge head-on. As he spoke, a flicker of doubt shadowed his resolve. Could he handle the weight of expectation? Could he transform this inheritance into something more than money? Just then a voice echoed from behind. You don't know what you're getting into, Jack. Turning, Jack found himself facing a familiar face from his past, one he thought he could dismiss. The journey was only beginning, and already, it felt like his dreams were wrapped up in a maze of complications. Would he be able to navigate through the shadows? Or would he lose everything he fought for? Jack froze, recognition hitting him like a blast of cold air. There stood Sarah Morgan, his childhood friend, the girl who once shared secrets under the oak tree and whispered dreams of flying away. Her eyes, once filled with innocence, now carried a storm of concern. What do you mean? Jack asked, his voice carrying a hint of desperation. What don't I know? Sarah stepped closer. This isn't just about money or your uncle's intentions. It's about what he left behind. The lives he's changed and the damage he might have done too. The words sank deep, raw and unsettling. Jack's heart thudded harder. What do you mean damage? Henry Blackwell cleared his throat, breaking the tension. This conversation doesn't concern you, Sarah. His tone was firm, but Jack could sense the crack beneath it. No, it does, Sarah insisted, glaring at Henry. Jack needs to know. His uncle had a vision, sure, but it was a vision some in the community weren't totally on board with. There were sacrifices. Jack glanced between them, confusion turning into apprehension. Why don't I remember any of this? I only knew of his wealth and the shadow he cast from afar. Because your family kept it quiet, Sarah responded, her gaze unwavering. He was a businessman who worked in the gray areas, Jack. There are consequences to that. Did you really think it would all just come to you without questions? Henry straightened, irritation flashing in his eyes. This isn't the time for old grudges, Sarah. Jack needs to focus on the opportunity ahead of him. The urgency in Henry's voice ignited Jack's frustration. But at what cost? If I'm to shoulder this legacy, I have to understand it. What sacrifices were made? What shadows did my uncle leave behind? Sarah's expression softened. People suffered, Jack. Your uncle's choices hurt some families directly. Before you dive in, consider what you might unleash. A live wire of anxiety crackled between them. Jack rubbed his temples, trying to process. So what do I do? How can I possibly honor my uncle while ensuring the community feels respected? A thought lodged itself in Jack's mind like a splinter. The excitement of flight, of freedom, seemed to be dimming under the weight of reality. Do I have a plan that can actually help? Or am I just stepping into a trap? Henry's brow furrowed as he watched Jack unravel in front of him. You're not just taking money. You're taking on a mission. If you truly want to align with your uncle's vision, you have to decide what part of his legacy needs to change. Jack looked at Sarah, her eyes pleading. Inside, he felt the swell of determination rising alongside fear. Okay, I'll figure it out. But I need your help, he said to her, his voice stronger now. I want to understand everything before I dive in. I may not have been close to him, but I can start making the right choices. Good, Sarah nodded, relief washing over her. I'm in. We'll face this together. Just then the room felt different, lighter, yet still charged with uncertainty. As Jack's newfound sense of purpose washed over him, he suddenly noticed a figure standing near the entrance of the lounge. A woman with a familiar face he hadn't seen in years. What did she want? And what new twist was about to unfold in Jack's complicated journey? Jack's heart raced. The familiar face at the entrance was unmistakable. Emily. His childhood crush, the girl who had always been just out of reach. The last time he'd seen her was at a high school graduation party, but that felt like a lifetime ago. Now she was here, and her expression mirrored a mix of surprise and concern, just like Sarah's. Jack, she said, voice almost a whisper, as if she was afraid to disturb the charged atmosphere in the room. He took a few steps forward, the weight of the conversation still bearing heavily on him. Emily, what are you doing here? I heard about your uncle's passing. And the inheritance. She stepped closer, her gaze flicking nervously between him and Sarah. I wanted to see how you were holding up. Behind him, he could sense Henry's disapproval lurking, still watching from the sidelines, his arms crossed tightly. That same tension hung in the air. But in that brief moment, with Emily's sincere expression, Jack felt a flicker of warmth amidst the storm inside him. Thanks for coming, Jack replied, his voice losing some of its earlier tension. It's been a lot to take in. Emily nodded, biting her lower lip. I can only imagine. I wanted to be here for you. But it seems you've got a lot going on. She glanced at Sarah, and Jack could see a million unasked questions pass between them. But he decided to focus on Emily. I'm trying to figure it all out. Apparently my uncle left behind more than just money. There are complications. Emily's eyes softened. Complications can often be the hardest part. But they can also lead to growth, right? She offered a tentative smile, one that lit up her face, momentarily pushing aside Jack's worries. Yeah, I hope so, he said, the corners of his mouth lifting slightly. The warmth held for a moment, but then Jack remembered Sarah's concerns. I need to make things right for the community, for those affected by my uncle's decisions. It's just, I don't even know where to start. Maybe starting with them would help, Emily suggested, her voice steadying. Do you know who was affected? Jack shook his head, feeling the knot in his stomach tighten. Not really. Just that people had suffered. I have to learn more. To honor his memory without just adding to the pain. I can help you, Emily offered immediately, sincerity lighting her eyes. I've always been good at digging into town histories. Besides, I've stayed connected with the community after you left. Let me help you understand what you're facing. He could hardly believe her words. The thought of working alongside Emily brought a surge of hope. Really? You do that? Of course, she replied, glancing back at Sarah as if seeking her support. This isn't just about you, Jack. It's about the people. I want to be there for them too. Jack felt a swell of gratitude. Together, maybe they could uncover the truth together. They could heal what was broken. As Sarah quietly nodded her approval, shifting back in the space beside Henry, Jack felt a flicker of something new boiling over the chaos, possibility. But just as he began to relax into this newfound alliance, a loud crash echoed from the hallway. The door swung open and a group of people rushed in, their expressions wild and frantic. Jack! One of them shouted, breathless. You need to come with us now. It's your uncle, something's gone wrong. Panic enveloped him instantly. What had he stepped into? With Emily's hand brushing against his, Jack could feel his heart pounding against his chest once more, each thud beckoning him to face whatever came next. What calamity awaited him now? Jack barely had time to process the urgency in the stranger's voice before he was swept up in the crowd, a whirlwind of frantic faces pushing him forward. Emily's grip on his hand tightened. He could feel the warmth of her palm, a small comfort in the chaos. What's going on? He managed to ask, voice straining to be heard above the panic that surrounded him. Your uncle was found. They think he might be in trouble. The leader of the group, a tall man with a pronounced stutter, replied. You need to come now. It's not good. His stomach lurched. All the air around him felt stale, the weight of the moment pressing down. His uncle had always seemed invincible. The turbulent memories of their last encounters rushed back. Laughter over glasses of whiskey, advice on dealing with life's messiness. But this was uncharted territory. As they moved down the hallway, Jack's mind raced. He could see the fear in Emily's eyes reflected in the faces of the group. They all trusted him to lead them, but how could he carry that burden now? Wait! Emily pulled him back just enough to get his attention, her expression fierce. Jack, we can't just run in there without a plan. We need to make sure we know what we're dealing with. He opened his mouth to respond, but his heart raced too fast for words. Instead he nodded, grateful that Emily was there. Despite everything, their connection felt like a lifeline. The group finally reached a door, flanked by two stern-looking officers whose expressions were cold and unreadable. The much too bright fluorescent lights made everything feel surreal, as if they were stepping into a scene from a movie. Jack. One of the officers stepped forward, eyes locking onto his. You need to brace yourself. We're sorry, but your uncle he's in bad shape. We're trying to save him, but we need your help. What kind of help? Jack's voice was barely above a whisper, fear gripping him. Information. He's unconscious and mumbling. We need you to tell us who might want to hurt him. Panic coursed through his veins. Jack didn't know what his uncle had been involved in lately, but he did remember whispers of certain dealings. His uncle had never been the type to back down when his trades grew dangerous. They're bad people. They can hurt you too, Emily said firmly, fear tugging at her voice. We can face this together. We need to find a safe place to talk. In that moment, the entire situation felt impossibly massive. What had he walked into? Jack took a steady breath, holding the tension from his chest as he looked around. Chaos loomed everywhere. His uncle's life was hanging in the balance, and here he was caught in a tug-of-war between fear for his family and uncertain ties to the community. As they huddled closer, Jack suddenly felt a surge of resolve, driven by the weight of his uncle's legacy. I'll do whatever it takes, he said, a new sense of purpose igniting in him as he turned back to the officer. Let us go. But just as they were about to move again, the unmistakable sound of shouting echoed from behind them. A door swung wide open and a group stormed in, faces twisted with anger. Get away from him! One of them yelled, brandishing a weapon that glinted ominously under the harsh lights. Jack froze, heart pounding, the grim reality crashing down like a heavy storm. What had he awakened? Would he survive this night? Together with Emily at his side, he took a step toward the menace, ready to confront whatever awaited him in the dark. But could courage shield him from the unknown? The chaos erupted as the armed group pushed past the officers, their shouts echoing like thunder. Jack felt his pulse quicken, each beat resonating with fear. Instinctively, he stepped in front of Emily, a reflexive act of protection. She grasped his arm tightly, her body tense, eyes wide with fright. Get down! One of the officers barked, his voice cutting through the noise. But Jack couldn't move. He was rooted in place, the urgency of the moment locking him in. The group was shouting about something, about a debt, a betrayal. Jack couldn't catch every word, but the menace in their voices twisted the air around him. Which way? Someone cried, trying to devise an escape. The officers organized themselves, their expressions grim and focused. Jack's heart thudded louder, drowning out everything. He had to think clearly, but all he could fixate on was his uncle, his life hanging in a balance he could barely comprehend. Jack. Emily's voice broke through like a lifebuoy in a sea of panic. We need to move. Right. The instinct to protect surged through him. He turned to the officer who had briefed him, eyes desperate. We can't let them get to him. The officer nodded, signaling for others to flank the entrance. Follow me. They rushed back the way they came, adrenaline fueling every hurried step. Jack could hear the chaos intensifying behind them, the shouting morphing into words that tore at his heart. He imagined his uncle's pale face, the warmth of his laughter replaced by a haunting silence. Do you know who they are? Emily asked between breaths, her eyes searching his face for answers that he didn't have. Sort of, Jack admitted, dredging up memories like pictures surfacing from a fogged lens. He mentioned a deal. Darker than usual. Bad people who don't play fair. Then we need to warn them. If they're out for him, they might not stop at hurting you or me, she replied, determination igniting in her expression. The narrow hallway felt like it was closing in on them. Walls seemed to shudder as Jack felt overwhelmed by the bizarre swirl of violence and urgency. He had never imagined he'd be facing anything like this. Not him, a regular guy with a normal job, balancing bills and weekend plans. This was the kind of trouble that belonged in movies, not his life. Keep moving, shouted the officer again, guiding them through a door marked with an emergency exit sign. The cool air greeted them as they spilled outside, the night sky stretching above, full of stars that seemed indifferent to their plight. Jack blinked against the sudden change of atmosphere. What now? He gasped, fear threading through his thoughts once more. Emily glanced back at the door they had just escaped through, resolve tightening her features. We need to find a way to contact a lawyer. Someone who can help us understand what is happening. But we have to do it without drawing attention to ourselves. They'll hunt us. Let us get to my car, he said, chest tightening at the thought of what they were diving into. We can't waste any time. Together they sprinted across the lot where Jack had parked earlier, anxiety thrumming through the air. He glanced around, making sure no one was following them, but something deep inside told him that this was far from over. Then the silence of the night was pierced by sirens in the distance. Jack's stomach dropped. The officers would need reinforcements, and they were likely the last line of defense before his uncle became a target. Move, he urged Emily as they reached the car. But as he fumbled for the keys, a chilling thought gripped him. What if they were too late? What if his uncle's life was already slipping away? He started the engine, and as they pulled away, the sound of violence faded behind them but left a haunting echo in his heart. Jack, Emily broke the silence, her voice softer now. Are you ready for this? Swallowing hard, he nodded, masking the uncertainty that fought to rise within him. We can't turn back now. But as they careened down the darkened streets, he grappled with a new fear. What if the truth about his uncle's dealings unraveled everything he thought he knew about his family and himself? With that lingering question dancing in his mind, he pressed the accelerator, chasing the shadows ahead, unaware that they would soon confront a reality more tangled than he could imagine. Jack's thoughts raced as the car sped into the night. Each pulse of the engine thrummed through his body like a relentless wave, pushing against the fear that seemed to weigh him down. The streetlights flickered by, casting quick shadows on Emily's face, which was a mixture of determination and dread. Where do we go? Emily asked, gripping the dashboard as Jack navigated through the neighborhoods, each twist and turn heightening the mix of adrenaline and anxiety within him. Let us head to my parents' place. It's not far, he replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. The irony twisted in his gut. He was leading them straight to the home where he felt safest, but now it felt more like a trap. Do you think they'll follow us? She questioned, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know, he admitted, but we have to stay sharp. Every street they passed felt familiar yet foreign, as if the layers of his life were peeling away. Was he really just a regular guy? The echo of the chaos from moments earlier haunted him like a ghost, reminding him that normalcy was a thing of the past. No regular guy faced armed groups in dark alleyways. As they neared his parents' house, Jack's heart pounded so hard he could barely hear the radio. What if they're already there? He asked, anxiety creeping in once more. We'll think of something, Emily insisted, her resolve striking him like armor. Her faith in him sparked an ember of hope in the turmoil of uncertainty swirling in his mind. They finally pulled up to the house, a modest two-story with a freshly painted porch. It should be felt like home, but not now, not with impending danger looming overhead like a storm cloud. Getting out felt like stepping into quicksand. He felt as though each step toward that door could drag him deeper into a nightmare. Stay here, he whispered to Emily as he pushed open the car door. Jack, wait, she called, her hand reaching out to grasp his wrist. We can't just rush in. We need a plan. Her voice grounded him and he paused to take a breath. You're right. I should check first. Be careful, she said, her eyes searching his, laden with a blend of worry and something softer trust. Jack crept toward the front door, his footsteps nearly silent on the gravel path. Each inch felt like a lifetime as he reached for the doorknob, the metal cool against his palm. He hesitated, the uncertainty clawing at his gut. Was it safe? What if the chaos he just fled followed him, ready to pounce? Pushing the door open slowly, he gasped at the sight inside. The house was dark but quiet. Everything seemed untouched, almost deceptive in its stillness. Mom? Dad? He called, his voice faltering at the silence that answered him. A flicker of movement caught his eye. Kitchen lights flickered on through the window, a warm glow amid the deepening shadows. Relief washed over him, but it was mixed with a gnawing apprehension. He stepped back and turned to find Emily just stepping out of the car. It's okay, I think they're here. He beckoned, a hint of hope breaking through. But before they could make a move toward the door, a sound shattered the stillness. A cacophony of voices erupted from a side street. Familiar shouts. Anger. Desperation. They're here. Jack hissed, panic gripping him. He grabbed Emily's arm and pulled her closer. What do we do? She breathed, her eyes wide, glancing at the advancing shadows now spilling into the driveway. Run! Jack commanded. There was no time for second-guessing. They sprinted away from the house, hearts pounding, the echo of the chaos growing louder behind them. Adrenaline surged through him as he realized how fleeting safety was. Emily was right beside him, but Jack knew this was only the start. Could he really protect her? His uncle? The truth loomed ahead, waiting to unravel everything he thought he knew about his family and the price of their secrets. As they ducked down a darkened alley, the noise of the approaching figures intensified. Questions spiraled within him. How deep did the betrayal run? And would they escape to reclaim what had been lost? Or would they be swallowed by the very shadows they were fleeing? Racing through the alleys, Jack could feel the night pressing against him like a weight, as he and Emily darted behind dumpsters and flickering streetlights. The chaotic sounds of pursuit echoed in the distance, and with every breath, Jack felt the urgency pulse through him. He couldn't show fear, not now, not when Emily's safety depended on his decisions. Where are we headed? Emily's voice broke through the heavy silence, urgency mixed with disbelief. We can head across town to the old bridge. It might be a good spot to regroup and catch our breath, Jack replied, glancing over his shoulder to see shadows moving ominously in the distance. They slipped around a sharp corner and ducked under some low-hanging branches at the edge of the park, the familiar scenery now painted with anxiety and dread. Memories of laughter shared here with friends felt like they belonged to someone else. Now every sound, every breeze seemed to carry danger. As they approached the bridge, Jack's pulse raced. We need to confront how to deal with this, Em. Knowledge is power, and we can't run forever. Emily nodded, determination flaring in her eyes. We'll need to find out what your uncle was involved in. Maybe we can untangle this mess. They took a breath at the edge of the bridge, looking down at the quiet waters below. But Jack's mind wasn't on the scenery, it was on the legacy he was uncovering. It's not just about the money. It's about the community. There's more at stake than I ever understood. Suddenly, the shadows broke into the clearing behind them. Jack's heart stopped. Jack! A voice yelled from the distance. It was Henry, the attorney who had set him down this whole path. He followed them. Relief and anger washed over Jack simultaneously. What are you doing here, Henry? Jack shouted, stepping forward with Emily beside him. The shadows flickered, and Jack could see others with Henry. Friends? Allies? Or more threats? Listen. Henry held up his hands, urgency spilling from his tone. I came because I've got information that can protect you. Your uncle was tangled in acts that many wouldn't support. What do you mean? Jack demanded, frustration boiling. You brought me into this mess. Henry stepped closer, eyes intense. Your uncle had debts. Dangerous people. He went up against people who don't let go easily. But you can still turn this around by being transparent. You have the ability to reshape his legacy. Jack and Emily shared a quick look. How? Jack challenged, heart racing. The truth felt like a jagged edge, ready to cut him if he wasn't careful. You leverage your community's strengths. You own up to the fallout, but you also bring them together. Confront this as a united front. Henry's eyes flickered between Jack and Emily, and for a moment Jack saw the chance. Then let us do it, Jack said, fire igniting. We bring everyone in. Together we expose the truth, take back what my uncle owed, and move forward with clarity. Just then a loud crack split the air. Jack and Emily ducked, adrenaline shooting through them again as they turned. The group that had chased them appeared, faces taut and menacing. Jack! A rough voice yelled. You owe us. Hand everything over. Jack felt Emily clutch his arm tightly. They're coming for everything, she whispered, fear creeping in again. But within him burned a fierce resolve, a sense of urgency that drew power from the community he so deeply cared for. Once and for all, Jack called, voice steadier than before. You want to play hardball? We'll face you together. And just like that, he took a step forward, eyes fierce with conviction. The adrenaline surged as he felt the unity of those who had rallied around him. The laughter from the cozy space of the gym, set against the shadows of their trials. The years of hard work and love spun within him, propelling him upwards. Suddenly, voices rang out from across the opposite end of the bridge. A line of townsfolk gathered, shoulders squared, faces painted with the fire of shared struggle. It was the very community he swore to protect, standing alongside him, ready to confront whatever chaos was born from the legacy of his uncle. "This ends today," Jack cried out, drawing strength from their presence. He could feel the warmth of their faith mixed with the burning fire of hope. Within that moment, standing united, Jack understood the true transformation lay not in flying above the rest, but in standing shoulder to shoulder champions for those who mattered most. With courage flooding through him, he let out a battle cry that echoed across the bridge. "Now!" he shouted, summoning the power of the town to take back what was theirs. Together they were more than just farmers, families, and friends. They were a force, ready to reclaim their roots and reshape the legacy Jack's uncle had left behind. A profound shift was building, and Jack felt it ignite deep within them all. Their hope intertwined, allowing nothing to hold them back. As they faced the approaching shadows, Jack's heart soared, charged with love for his community, the family he had long sought to uplift. Because in that moment he finally understood. Together they could conquer anything. In the heat of the struggle, Jack's laughter broke through the tension. Perhaps raising a new legacy would mean they all had to fly high, wings forged of unity and resilience. And as the chaos began, Jack resolved in that heartbeat to rise, to flourish, and to reclaim everything they'd ever lost. Now what is your story? If you found inspiration in Jack's journey, you need to subscribe now to catch more incredible tales of transformation. Leave a like now to show your support. Your thumbs up fuels the dreams we share. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this wild ending. I want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Join the movement today.